Hello, my lovely rose garden, and welcome to the new year. I'm Avalon Roselin, indie author, and your reviewer key for the evening. Cinderella Boy is a wide departure from the previous works I read from the webtoon author Punko. Cinderella Boy is Punko's most recent and ongoing webcomic, which I found through reading her suspense horror webcomic Stagtown. Stagtown was more in line with Punko's previous works under her real name, M. Alice Legros, which you may or may not recognize as the author and illustrator of the original English-language manga Bisengast, which was published by Tokyo Pop in the 2000s. With a history of suspense and horror stories, one might not expect that Punko's next story would be a fantasy rom-com, or that such a story would be so sparse when it came to horror. But Cinderella Boy clearly shines with Punko's storytelling touch, with lovable characters, well-paced reveals leading to believable twists and turns in the plot, and the undeniable need to know what happens next. Cinderella Boy is the story that finally made me break and spend money on webtoons so I could fast pass to later episodes somewhere around the halfway point. And while I wrote this script up almost immediately upon finishing Season 1, I have waited to release it until the season finale is available to all readers, because I will discuss spoilers later in this video, and I want to make sure that everyone has the chance to read the full season, then return to this video if they so desire. During that time, I have satiated my need for more Cinderella Boy content by joining Punko's Patreon, but I will not be including any information revealed in the supplementary material in this review. Just be aware that, as much as I am about to discuss in this video, there is more. Cinderella Boy, formerly known as Cinderella Chasers when it was on Webtoon Canvas, follows aspiring pop star Chase Hollow, like and follow, on his quest into storybooks as the heroine to obtain serotonin, a mysterious substance that, when gathered in high enough quantities, can be used to grant a wish. At first, it would seem that Chase intends to use his wish to achieve his dream of stardom, but this is not the case. Chase's mother is battling cancer, and apparently losing the fight. A small amount of serotonin can help her, but curing her completely will take nothing short of a wish, a happily ever after of Chase's own. Of course, this might be easier if Chase actually read the books he enters instead of winging it once he's inside the stories. Chase isn't alone in traveling the tales. A mysterious rival in the form of the Villainess keyholder, a young man known only by Chase's nickname for him, Buddy, appears to warn Chase away from entering storybooks. The magical heroine key that allows Chase to enter stories and play the selfsame role does not belong to him, according to Buddy. The keys were created by an even more mysterious organization called Ex Libris. The two establish a bantering back and forth, both of whom will need to obtain all 12 of the story keys to reach their ultimate goals. The cast is rounded out by an absolutely stellar group of lovable and interesting characters, each of whom is highly distinct in personality. Chase's cousin Deacon, who is following his parents' wishes to become a doctor, despite his passion for books and longing to be the hero of his own story. Their grandfather, a veteran who has taken on his late wife's rivalry with Diane and seeks to outdo her in all things craft baking and yoga. Prunella, their young neighbor, who escapes to their house to live out her rough and tough survival fantasies. Prunella's mother, the eccentric and fantasy-obsessed owner of the bed and breakfast across the street, and the keys themselves, which turn into tiny metal people when they aren't being used as keys. That's as much as I will say on that for now, though, since more details about the keys as characters would possibly approach spoiler territory. The chemistry between all of these characters is off the charts. You would need an entire laboratory to contain it, especially between Chase and Buddy, who give me what I actually want out of an enemies to lovers story. Chase takes on the role of the heroine in each of the stories he enters. He is Cinderella, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, and, as one of the aspects of the story I appreciate most, entirely original roles in made-up fictional stories. Cinderella Boy eases the reader into its premise with well-known fairy tales, then diverges from that path in order to tell its story and highlight its character strengths and flaws. This helps keep things fresh for readers who are familiar with fairy tales and common fantasy tropes, as Chase has a way of derailing stories. I will admit that Chase can be an acquired taste for some readers. The heroine's role is often a passive one. He is frequently told he has not much to do until the end of the story when he'll be rescued by the hero, and Chase is anything but passive, which can be off-putting due to some of his bratty outbursts, but also leads to some hilarious situations and heartfelt moments of empathy for the storybook characters who exist only in the confines of their scripted roles. Chase's compassion for others and refusal to give up or wait to be rescued drives the story. When he discovers that his key is a living being with feelings and desires, he immediately pledges himself to helping her reunite with her family. The fact that this is necessary to make a wish, and that it will be extremely difficult to gather all 12 keys even without ex-Libris on the hunt for them too, does not hinder him for 1 second. His compassion and desire to help also begins to extend to Buddy, especially once Buddy starts to shift from an antagonistic rival and more toward, perhaps, a deuteragonist? The reader does not know much about Buddy. The story is primarily told from Chase's point of view, with occasional divergences into the points of view of Deacon or Buddy. And I mean occasional. Rarely is a full chapter told from anyone else's perspective but Chase's, and the few moments we have seen from Buddy do not reveal verifiable personal information, as one of the biggest moments is a dream sequence, which will be discussed in more detail in the spoiler section. The fact that Buddy does keep things a secret from Chase leads to a lot of speculation about what Ex Libris is, and just how willingly Buddy is going along with their plans. This is about as far as I can go without delving into spoilers. Everything I've talked about so far can be found in the first 10 episodes of the story, and Season 1 is 61 episodes long. In summary, read Cinderella Boy. It's funny, it's cute, it's heart-wrenching at times, and Punko knows how to write a good mystery by giving the reader just enough to think about, answering some questions while raising others. I had to go back and reread the entire season after finishing the finale because there are actually so many hints toward the reveal once you actually know what to look for. But at the same time, things are still clearly not what they appear to be, and there are plenty of secrets left to uncover. If you are leaving this review here to go read Cinderella Boy, please leave a comment telling me what archetypal story key you'd most want to use. Hero, villain, helper? And of course, make sure you chase, hollow, like, and follow the channel for more videos related to books and writing, including an eventual Season 2 review. Thank you for watching this far into the video. There are spoilers ahead. If you would rather enjoy this media without spoilers, please stop here. But before you go, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. You can also check out the links in the description for other ways that you can support Roselin Books, such as purchasing my books or becoming a supporter on Patreon or Ko-fi. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you again soon. Now that I can talk about the full season unencumbered by keeping secrets, let me delve into the brilliance of the way the characters represent their archetypal key partners and how this was actually major foreshadowing for one of the biggest reveals of the season. Chase and Buddy being the key holders of the heroine and villainess keys, respectively, does not merely defy genre and gender expectations. If the importance of this stopped at the boy character is in a female role, laugh, I would not love this story nearly as much as I do. To fully understand the significance of these roles and the characters they are cast onto, it is important to understand the difference between the heroine and hero and the villainess and villain when discussing archetypes in Western literary canon. There are more differences between them than simply gender. A heroine is more than a female hero, and each possesses different qualities. An ideal heroine is compassionate, kind-hearted, and determined. She excels in matters of the heart as opposed to physical prowess and strength. In The Heroine Archetype by Annabelle Nelson, The heroine archetype is defined by values of interconnectedness and relationships, and achieving balance in priority between self-care and caring for others. On the opposite side of the coin, the traditional villainess uses cunning, subterfuge, and proximity to power to turn events in her favor. Unlike the villainess often lacks the direct power and control to achieve her goals. There are exceptions, of course. Evil queens are often in charge enough. But even then, they typically order the heroine's downfall rather than carry it out themselves. For example, the evil queen in Snow White first orders her henchmen to kill Snow White, then attempts to trick her with poison while in disguise, rather than engage in direct physical confrontation. Chase and Buddy are paragons of these roles. While they do occasionally roughhouse, their actions and personalities are far more in line with those of their roles. Examining Chase first. Chase is not a physically confrontational character most of the time. While he might wrestle with Buddy or a storybook character for comedic effect, rarely, if ever, does a narratively relevant solution require him to engage in physical violence. The qualities that stand out far more in both comedic and serious moments are Chase's compassion and empathy for others. He legitimately cares for others even when doing so is counterproductive to his own goals. He does not want to use his wish to gain fame and fortune, he wants to help his mother. While the rest of his friends go on to college, he asserts that he wants his mother to have the money and does not mind missing out on the opportunity. He is not only kind to the Keys, caring for their well-being and desires, but also shows consideration to storybook characters despite there being no apparent benefit in doing so. Even when helping the stepsisters in Cinderella could potentially cause him to lose the bet he made with Buddy, he still goes out of his way to ask if they're all right and prevent further harm. During the Beach Boys arc, wherein Buddy has been seen to be mostly antagonistic to Chase prior to those chapters, Chase is immediately willing to offer help to Buddy when he suspects that his rival might be abused by Ex Libris. The narrative treats this as one of Chase's best strengths, one that offers a balance to his seemingly self-centered personality. The culmination of this comes in the Requiem of Blood and Moonlight arc, where Chase's care for others is apparent both in how he treats Buddy after his claustrophobic panic attack, and how he's able to change the course of the story by transforming the villainous Dracifer into a hero with an emotional therapy session. Yes, winning over the villain by hosting an intervention is funny, but it is very much in line with the traits of the heroine: kindness, compassion, determination, and placing value and power in relational knowing. Yes, he does physically confront Dracifer when he finds out what he did to Buddy, but this is not the narrative solution to the arc. It is also notable that while Chase started out using the heroine key, the hero key does become an option before the end of the season, and he never once considers changing keys. The idea of him being the heroine keyholder is not questioned by anyone around him at any time. No one cares that a boy is in the heroine role, and there are enough characters and story details littered throughout the early chapters to suggest that Chase would be deeply uncomfortable in the hero role. I mean, just contrast Chase with the actual hero keyholder, Prunella. A precocious, which is just adult for weird, child, Prunella is shown to have difficulty making friends with others her age. She considers Chase and Deacon, her neighbors across the street who mostly treat her as a nuisance or unwelcome visitor most of the time, to be her only friends. She has some tomboyish traits, such as far as we can tell from her reaction to Goldie's outfits and her own outfit choices, disliking dresses and wanting to be a survivalist and live outdoors, though this may be less about gender norms and more about defying her mother's hyper-feminine and whimsical styles. She has a tendency to use physical force to solve her problems, and is highly resourceful when it comes to physical activities, like getting access to the tower. Some of her standout moments from within books are stating that she, quote, abused her power and learned nothing, and admiring Lady Lovelorn incinerating the villain with fire breath. In short, she is the antithesis of Chase's heroine, focusing more on strength and less on relationships, something she is seen to struggle with. Prunella is the newest key holder and has had the least amount of time to bond with her key or participate in stories, so this is something that will likely get developed later as she spends more time with the main cast and deepens her friendship with Goldie. But it seems so far that their reactions have a lean of Goldie trying to influence Prunella to be responsible and make good choices with the power she's granted as a hero. Deacon is a character seemingly destined for his archetypal partner. When he tries to go off script in a more active role, and when he later attempts to use the hero key, the results are disastrous. He at first has a strong disdain for the helper role, seeing it as only the sidekick who takes orders and does the bidding of others. This is a hard pill for him to swallow, as he sees himself as the helper of his own life rather than the hero, following his parents' orders without question or rebuttal regarding his own desires. It isn't until he has these mismatched hero experiences and begins to see the helper less as someone who listens to others and more as someone who is listened to as an advice giver that he warms to the role. He is much more comfortable and confident as the helper in Requiem of Blood and Moonlight and Still Waters, recognizing the value of the helper role to the story. It certainly helps that he and Bronze have bonded more deeply, and he is now better able to see himself as an important character through his outfits. We can only speculate on what this will mean for his character development with regard to his parents pushing him to study medicine, but my assumption would be that he will find the courage to stand up to them and rekindle the stronger relationship he used to have with his cousin by providing support to him as the plot progresses into more serious territory. We've already seen Deacon and Chase getting closer over the course of Season 1, but it is implied that they used to be closer still when they were younger and are on their way to recovering that deep bond. And now, the character that made me want to examine all this in the first place, Buddy. Or, should I say, the villain key, Nox. I was right. Rarely am I correct on a theory like this, and my husband not. This is one of the few things that we disagreed on while reading Cinderella Boy. As soon as it was revealed in the Book of Deacon that keys could use each other to go into stories, I was convinced that Buddy was a key. The brief glimpse we got of him in Dreams by Night almost dissuaded me, and was Ray's top reason for not thinking he was a key. We reread the entire season with this new knowledge and found a lot of foreshadowing and references that could lead the reader to that conclusion. However, the main piece of foreshadowing that I found was his role as the Villainess. Like I said earlier, the Villainess role is one which needs to use underhanded or roundabout methods to enact their schemes. They do not have the direct power to strike their targets. They have to employ others, use poisons, send guards, and so on. If Chase is an exemplar of the heroine, then his foil Buddy would need to be the exemplar of the Villainess, meaning unable to directly achieve his goals through his own power, which is exactly how the keys are presented. For all their magical ability, the keys have very limited power to affect their circumstances. Even silver, bronze, and gold are dependent upon Chase, Deacon, and Prunella to provide them with living space, snacks, and so on. If the protagonists were to decide to stick them in a drawer and use them at their leisure, the keys would not be able to do much about it. Nox's hesitation to accept Chase's help comes into sharper focus with this knowledge in mind. Not only does he have every reason not to trust humans, one who is using a key at that very moment, but he would likely not want to reveal what he is to Chase, making himself vulnerable to his whims. Also, Buddy never confirms that he is working for or with Ex Libris. It is Silver and Chase, working on the assumption that he is human, that make that suggestion. Another assumption made is that Buddy starts treating Chase more nicely after they make their wager and redo Cinderella, starting in the Rules of Engagement arc. However, that also coincides with Chase getting custom outfits from Silver, something that could not happen unless Silver was happy enough with Chase to provide them. It is very likely that Buddy recognizes that Chase is taking good care of Silver and backs off for that reason, though he is still positioned in opposition to Chase as someone who wants to gather the keys together again, though we do not know exactly why just yet. Not every question the reader has is answered by the end of Season 1. As of right now, some questions we still have are: who put up the flyers around town offering a reward for the keys? What is Nox and Violet's goal? So far, we know that they want to reunite the keys. It is unclear if they are working with, against, or adjacent to Ex Libris. We can guess that they intend to make a wish for Nox to be human, and are possibly using Chase to gather Neratonin for this purpose, since keys cannot gather it themselves, but there are a lot of details that are unclear about this, such as, is Nox the only key that used to be human, or was it all of them? I personally am of the belief that Nox is a second-generation key created from a human, or is the second villain key who replaced a lost or damaged original, which is why he has a 2 on his back in Dreams by Night, where his moon symbol is in Keeple form. Will Chase end up making his wish to save Nox, or his mother? Where are the other keys, and what are their identities? A few have been seen in background panels and were mentioned in supplementary materials on Patreon, but we still do not know all 12. How will Chase react to finding out Nox is a key? How will Chase and Buddy interact after their kiss in Still Waters? Why does Nox tell Violet he isn't sure he can do this anymore? This implies that something about their plan directly endangers Chase or may endanger him in the future, yet Nox also states that he wants to be human now more than ever after sharing a romantic moment with Chase. There is definitely something going on there that has him at odds with himself. Who or what is Ex Libris? We still don't have a lot of information on them, and given that it has not been confirmed if Nox and Violet are working for them, I have to also wonder, is Ex Libris even still around as an organization, or is it just one old man who still has hold of a few of the keys? And just how many keys are missing? There is a lot to still explore and ponder over Season 2, and I cannot wait for it. For now, that is as much as I am willing to say publicly about Cinderella Boy, because, as I said, I am not going to reveal any of the additional information that is available on Punko's Patreon. But I would highly recommend checking it out, especially once you finish Season 1, because the Chase diary entries are just a blast to read through and provide a lot of additional context, especially when it comes to the keys. So definitely check that out. Definitely check out Cinderella Boy. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and please leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and I will see you in the next one. Keep growing till next time, Rose Garden! Thank you for watching all the way to the end. My deepest gratitude goes out to my supporters, who you'll see on screen here and also in the description. If you'd like, you could become a member of the Rose Garden by supporting me on Patreon, Ko-fi, or by buying my books. And don't forget that for an indie author like me, every like, comment, and subscription is a huge help. Good night, my lovely Rose Garden.